Spider-Man, A Brand New Day.
Or more of the same.
Let's talk.
Welcome back, everybody, to ANJ Hot Takes. I am Andre.
And I am Joe.
Today, we're going to be talking about
Spider-Man.
Brand New Day.
Yeah.
So, let's dive into it. What do you got for Spider-Man today?
So I am pretty excited to talk about this one. I could talk endlessly about the MCU and Spider-Man and such, but I kind of wanted, as a hot take, open up with a countdown of stats, if you will. For those that don't know, this will be the 7th movie in this MCU Spider-Man phase with Tom Holland. It is his 6th appearance in the MCU, 5th appearance of Spider-Man with a team. Let me see here. It is his 4th standalone movie. As we all know, this is the 3rd reboot, with the first being with Tobey Maguire, 2nd with Andrew Garfield, and now with Tom Holland. Over the course of this franchise, he's had 2 mentors, and this is going to be the very first movie without Aunt May being present. So
when you're talking about 3rd reboot and this being from MCU, and now that we had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield kind of come into the MCU, is that why you're counting this as a 3rd reboot, or do you have something different in mind?
No, it is the 3rd reboot of the franchise. And it's weird, and that kind of goes into the second thing I had, where a lot of people don't understand the legal mess that comes with Spider-Man.
It is a mess.
It is a web of legalities. In a nutshell...
Wait, did you just bring Madam Web into this?
Yeah, unintentionally, but a lot of the Spider-Man properties come with a lot of baggage, and a lot of it is bad. Reason for that is, in a nutshell, Marvel was going bankrupt in the late 80s, early 90s. They had a plan of selling off their properties to movie studios under the caveat that if they don't make a film in 5 years, the rights will revert back to Marvel. They saw it as easy cash. Studios saw it as an easy way to make film, make money, and then if it didn't make money, they would just throw it back to Marvel. A few things happened that nobody would have thought of. First of all, Marvel got their shit together and started actually doing stuff with their property, leading up to Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk coming out in early mid-2000s. The second thing was that Sam Raimi made an excellent trilogy with Spider-Man, proving the franchise or the IP to be successful for Sony. They made a ton of money, and it actually elevated what a comic book movie could be. Fox took note, who had bought all the X-Men properties and the Fantastic Four, and they reshaped what the X-Men could be and came up with their movie. Other studios made an attempt but failed with, having come out with multiple Punishers within that time frame. But then, Sony was successful. At the time, the baseline for a great comic book movie was Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire fighting Doc Ock, played by Alfred Molina, and that is a classic. It is a great film. However, once the Avengers came out and everybody was on board for all these big team-up movies, Sony was kind of left in the dust. All they had was Spider-Man and all the Spider-Man properties, and that includes all of its side characters, all of its villains, all of its storylines. What can they do with that? So they attempted to reboot Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. They attempted to build what they called the Spider Universe and set up a big, long arc with the Sinister Six, which is why in this Amazing Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock, the Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Rhino, all these other enemies were kind of teased at, side characters were teased at, but due to box office flop, it didn't go anywhere. So they took a step back, they said, what else can we do? Everybody's kind of tired of Spider-Man, and they did Venom. Venom, unfortunately, became a success, the very first movie, but again, they didn't know what to do with it, so as they made Venom 2 and the last Venom 3, sales kind of went down, because even though they have the properties, they don't have the MCU rights. They don't have the vision. So everything they try to kind of bring to life kind of fails. And at some point, they just kept releasing movies so they could hold on to the rights, because the whole time...
Money talks, man.
At the time, Marvel's just waiting for the whole franchise to kind of collapse on itself. so they could get the rights back. They even, at the time of Endgame, were offering close to $1 billion to Sony to buy back Spider-Man.
It's a lot of money.
Yes. And Sony's just like, no, I think we got something here. Because at that time, they released the animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was highly successful. And Tom Holland's Spider-Man was already successful in the MCU. That is another set of legalities where they kind of share the character. And right now, as it stands, anything with Tom Holland is a shared property between Sony and Marvel, but they have to come back to the drawing board with the lawyers and all that stuff if they want to expand on it. So that's why you don't see Tom Holland in the Venom movies, in the Morbius movies, in the Madam Web movies. And you don't see Spider-Man a whole lot outside of the films, aside from the Avenger films, which he's contracted to do with this new deal. So it's a big mess. So
it is. And you touched on Sony and you touched on Venom, which is also part of my hot take, where at the end of Venom, we did get to see the symbiote kind of left behind in the MCU universe. So my hot take is this plot hole of having the symbiote in the MCU now is Marvel just assuming that everybody forgot, because this was back in 2021. So are they just assuming the fans forgot about it and we're never gonna address Venom in the MCU at all? Or are we just going to leave it as a plot hole and just move on and not talk about it until they kind of get into another new deal where it's like, okay, you can use Venom in the MCU now?
Well, that's where it gets tricky. So other non-Spider-Man films from the Spider-Man verse that Sony created has created plot holes. That's why you see Michael Keaton as the Vulture in Morbius, which goes nowhere.
True.
You have Venom seeing Spider-Man on a TV that ultimately went nowhere.
But so here's the thing, because that was Venom got brought
Yes.
to the universe and then moved away. The problem is a piece of symbiote was left behind, and they forcefully focused on that, and it's like it was with intention that yes, we're gonna have Venom eventually in the MCU because hey, here's a piece of his symbiote, and that is how they kind of multiply.
Well, so two things to that. First of all, technically not the first sign of a symbiote in the MCU.
Correct.
The first sign was the Dark Blade that was supposed to be given to Jon Snow character in the Eternals.
Yeah.
He's supposed to become the Black Knight who wields this symbiote form blade and turns into like this chaotic anti-hero, which hopefully will make an appearance at some point between now and the Eternals 2.
Is there going to be an Eternals 2? Because I think that kind of dropped, and they're not going to keep doing movies.
So, and that's probably a longer discussion itself. I saw, it could be fake, I'm not too sure, a phase 6, 7, 8 plan, and they dropped a hint that they may be working on an Eternals 2. Although, for the franchise sake, I hope they just throw that as a Disney Plus show.
Fair enough.
Yeah. The second thing is, with the whole multiverse and how that's kind of failed, Sony didn't know what to do with it. They kind of retconned it in their last Venom movie that piece of symbiote was in the Tom Hardy universe. And some scientists, I've not seen any of the Venom movies. I refuse to see them. Maybe at some point I'll go back and watch them, but I just don't support their efforts of Venom. So I think that little sample existed on both planes. It existed both in the MCU plane and in the Tom Hardy Spider-Verse plane. So that sample that they showed at the end may still exist in the MCU.
To be fair, like I do think it does still exist. I just think that they forgot about that, and it's like, okay, we'll touch on it, but right now it's not the time because they are focusing so much into now Doomsday. We are going to get multiple variants of characters, but right now that's not a priority, so we'll
Right,
just
and-
keep it in our back pocket
Yeah, and
whenever we need it.
It's not the first time we've seen them conveniently forget something.
Yeah.
The Eternals showed this being coming out of the planet, and it was frozen dead in the Indian Ocean, and then not addressed for like 6 or 7 movies.
It took a while until
Right.
Captain America.
And part of that is just because of where things were going, and the CEOs at Disney were putting too much effort into doing the Disney shows instead of movies. So I could understand where the ball was dropped. But at least it did come out in the end, and
Yes.
good things are coming from it, because that's where adamantium's found, which is hinting at Wolverine's transformation later on in the MCU. It's hinting at a bigger world order that is fighting for these new resources and trying to create superhumans, which may lead into the mutant saga, where we see super soldiers fighting against the X-Men. You know, when you put the National Guard against the X-Men, there's no chance that they could win. But if you see these
No.
super soldiers fighting against the X-Men, it's like, all right, this might be a fun fight to watch.
So that actually blends straight into my second hot take perfectly. And it is talking about introducing mutants into the MCU,
Yes.
where now we're seeing organic web being shot by Tom Holland. So they are kind of leaning into now Spider-Man has organic web, doesn't need his synthetic web anymore. Sadie Sink has been rumored. I know it hasn't been confirmed officially, but heavily rumored that she's going to be playing a younger Jean Grey. So do you feel that Brand New Day is going to open the door to that mutant universe? And if we are leaning into Spider-Man having his organic, so that's talking about genetics,
Yes.
having Jean Grey, do you think there's a possibility of finally getting Ned as,
The Hobgoblin.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
So-
think we're going to get that?
I believe we are. I recently saw another video from the group over at Screen Crush. Great analysts over at Screen Crush, so I really enjoy watching their videos. And they believe this is secretly the first film in the mutant saga. Now,
Okay.
they can finally say mutants now. They couldn't say mutants before the Disney,
Fox merger.
the Fox Disney merger, because mutants and anything mutant abilities was under the X-Men IP, which Fox owned
Yeah.
from Marvel. And after that kind of passed through, then you kind of started to see some things change in the MCU where they can openly say mutants. Technically, the Hulk is a mutant.
Yeah.
He has a special gene that allowed him to absorb gamma rays, and it eventually mutated him into the Hulk. There's various other mutants in the MCU which they couldn't call mutants, which is why at the end of what was it? At the end of
This Marvel?
no, when they first hinted at Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Oh, Captain America.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Enhance humans.
Yes, they called them the enhanced humans, and even at the beginning of Age of Ultron, they say, "Oh, we've got enhanced out here."
Yep.
And no, they were mutants. They just couldn't say mutants.
True.
So yes, something interesting that came up though is perhaps Sadie Sink is not Jean Grey, but a clone of Jean Grey, because they speculated that the guy that plays Melchek on Severance, who's shown in the trailer, is a MCU or a Marvel villain who plays around with genetics and cloning. So it's possible that he may have the actual Jean Grey, Sadie Sink, locked away somewhere, cloned her, and is controlling this clone that's causing havoc. They believe the plot is that they created this clone to wreak havoc on the city. Has Spider-Man duke it out with this mutant, it causes a catastrophe in New York City, and it gives Damage Control the ability to move in and be the new militia of New York City to say, hey, we need to keep these mutants and superhumans under control, leading into what will be the basis of the mutant saga.
Okay. Well, Joe, watch or not?
I am definitely watching this. I can't stress enough that I like Spider-Man. it's a shame that it's under the Sony studio still, but I'm glad that Marvel is at least behind the creative reins behind it. For me, in terms of Marvel characters' importance and my preference, it's always been Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, Wolverine. So, yes, Spider-Man would definitely be a day one watch for me.
Fair enough. I am definitely going to say watch. Anything Marvel for me is going to be a watch. Even if they turn out bad at the end, well, fair enough. But I definitely am going to watch any Marvel movies. So, ANJ, watch it is.
All right. And if
cool.
you guys feel different, let us know.
Yeah.
Or tell us if Tom Holland is the superior Spider-Man, or if you liked all the previous actors.
And any fan theories that you might have, leave them down in the comments. We'll definitely go check those out and maybe address them.
And delete the ones we don't like.
Yep, we own the channel.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for joining. This has been ANJ Hot Takes.
See ya.